Well, welcome everybody to the Grow People Podcast.
Welcome.
Grow People Podcast for the purpose of
growing people.
You have to yell that.
Oh,
yeah,
growing
yeah.
people.
Yes.
We have a guest today.
Sorry,
Yeah.
y'all didn't tell me.
Yes, we are so excited. We've had guests before. We had Zip and Frank and the folks from Give a Kid a Chance. But now, and I'm so excited about this because there's so many things to talk about. Okay. So these guys are sitting really close to each other. If you're watching on YouTube, because they're married to each other,
We are.
Our communications and culture minister,
Yep.
Lindsey Gerdes,
Yes.
joining us today on the podcast. Talk a little WoCo,
Yeah, let's do
but we
it.
have other things to talk about. One of the reasons I am excited to have you on the show. Do you remember
I remember?
the very first podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. You were in the room.
You're sitting right over there,
Right there.
on the floor. And at the end of the podcast, I said, if you want a transcript of today's show, and you being so meticulous and into every detail of every piece of communication,
Yes.
you kind of had that frozen I'm freaking out look
Yes.
of I didn't know we had to have a transcript of the podcast.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's become a running joke on the podcast. At the
Okay.
end, we say, hey, if you need a transcript of the podcast, just write down everything we say.
Yes, exactly.
So
It's a joke to us. I don't know if it is to anybody else.
In that moment, it was not a joke to me. I was like, oh no, I did not do my job. What are we going to do? Are we supposed to have a transcript? I'm trying to think about how I'm going to get this transcript.
Transcribed.
And then you said, write everything down. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Lord.
So I kid you not, a couple of weeks ago, and I normally listen to the podcast, where you would normally get your podcast.
Yeah.
But I decided to check it out on YouTube. So I started watching the podcast. There's a transcript.
Oh,
there it
it
is.
just does it automatically?
Yes, I had no idea.
Praise the Lord.
There's an actual transcript. So here I am joking about, there's
And
no
somebody's
transcript.
actually doing it.
Yeah.
Somebody,
YouTube.
yeah,
is.
I didn't know
Is there
if
a
that was.
transcript or is it closed captioned? Is that what you're saying?
No, there's a transcript.
Like it's all there. You could go and read it.
As you're watching it, it comes up.
I think that would be closed captioning, maybe.
Yeah.
So what?
It doesn't.
It's still there. The whole thing is still there at the
are
end.
there.
Yes.
Oh,
It's still
all
there.
still there?
It's not on the screen. It's below.
Oh, okay, great.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
great.
Where-
Okay, that's cool.
Where you would see people write amazing comments.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
Yes.
please go write an amazing
Yeah.
comment. That would be awesome.
So
We'd love that.
surprise.
There is a
Surprise.
transcript.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not me.
Who knew?
Who knew?
So now are we going to change the tagline? Like if you want a transcript, go to YouTube.
No, because only
and look at
13
the-
people are watching on YouTube. Everybody consumes their podcasts in different ways, but
Yes.
most people consume it while they're driving.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely consume my podcasts while driving.
Are we
sure.
using the word consume for this?
Or
This-
listen. Or
Yeah.
Listen to.
Yeah,
listen to. What do
consume's
you
fine.
do? Do you watch or do you listen?
No, I listen.
Is
Yeah.
it
I listen
well?
to
How do you, in more of a general? How do you consume your media?
Mm.
How do you wouldn't say how you listen to your media. You would say how do
True.
you consume your media?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I watch the news, but I don't watch podcasts.
Okay.
I listen to podcasts.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
That
okay,
was just,
great,
That was
great.
just
I
one
love
of the. That's just one of the things I wanted to bring up.
Great, I love it. Check that off your
Yeah.
list.
The best show, as we always say, is the 15 or 20 minutes prior to the recording of the podcast.
Yeah.
When you dropped a huge bomb on us.
I did? What did I drop?
You talked about a show you were watching,
Oh, yes.
and I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give you the props to it.
You can take the credit for it.
Okay.
It's fine.
By the way, if
Finally.
you're listening for the first
Yeah.
time, the other guy is our lead pastor,
Yeah, this
Jason
is our
Gerdes.
lead
We never
pastor.
even got to that part
No.
of the
That's all right.
introduction.
This is
you
my
totally
husband.
you totally botched the
This
whole
is my
introduction. yeah. Well, he said we were married.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, oh, you know.
Oh yeah, you're Pastor Jason's wife.
I'm Pastor
But no,
Jason's
I
wife.
am-
No, this is Lindsay's husband.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
This is our communication minister's
This is
husband.
husband.
Yes,
Yes.
one of my best titles. Yes.
But yeah, so he went to Montana a couple of weeks ago and he told me about this documentary that he watched on the way there back. or
Yeah, on
whatever.
the plane.
On the plane.
Yeah.
Consumed it on the plane.
He consumed it on the plane. And
It's not that I have a problem with consumption. I mean, look at me. I mean,
and so anyways, it's called Facing Nolan. And it is about
it's a documentary
Nolan
about Nolan
Ryan.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because,
It's so good.
I mean, my favorite non-Philly of all time is Nolan Ryan.
yeah.
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 Well, we don't know if you know this, but we're from Texas.
I've heard.
And you've heard. Okay, great. And so we are huge Texas fans, just of all people. And so Nolan Ryan, being a Astro baseball player and a Texas Ranger baseball player, like we just grew up with knowing who he is and was and followed him and everything. So, man,
he's amazing.
It was so good. But I didn't even tell you this. You know who I didn't even realize was going to be on the Netflix or on the documentary is Bobby Valentine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was a huge Bobby Valentine fan whenever I was a kid.
Oh, I remember
manager.
when he ran through the fence.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, Bobby Valentine. See, this is great because one of my favorite moments in 34 years of broadcasting was Nolan Ryan. And we would have just these amazing guests.
When he beat up?
Yeah, when Nolan Ryan beat me up. He beat up Robin Ventura, then he beat me up.
Yeah.
And he could have.
Yeah.
So we had these amazing guests on every day. And this was when I was working in California. And one day the producer says, "Hey, you want Nolan Ryan on?" And I got so scared.
Yeah.
And
like to come on your show?
Yes. No one intimidated me. We had vice presidents on. We had
wow.
And there were like 10 people in the room for this interview, and I was petrified because this is guy's bigger than life.
Yeah.
I mean, he threw 100 miles an hour when nobody threw 100 miles an hour. So I'm like, what could I possibly say to him that he hasn't heard before?
Yeah.
And I dropped a nugget on him. And, he's got that kind of a high voice.
Yeah.
And it got really high. He's like, "Oh, well, thank you so much for saying that."
What was the nugget?
The 1980 playoffs, the Phillies were playing the Astros.
I wasn't born yet. Keep going.
But I like how you got that in there.
Yeah.
I was 21.
Yeah.
The 1980 playoffs, Phillies were playing the Astros. And in game 5, so it was best of 5 in that series to go to the World Series before it was best of 7. And Nolan Ryan was pitching for the Astros, and Phillies couldn't hit him. And Bill Verdon, who was the manager of the Astros, brought in, I think it was Joe Sambito, who was the relief pitcher. And the Phillies got a couple of runs off him. And I said, if they'd have left you in, you guys would have gone to the World Series. And that was one of the big things that he just never got to experience.
Yeah.
Obviously on the Mets back in '69, but you weren't born then either.
No.
So anyway, it was a cool Nolan Ryan moment. That's all I got.
I think it was either when he was with the Mets or the Angels that he only made $7,000 for the season.
The Mets.
For the Mets. And so then he had to he played this entire season, made $7,000, and then had to go back home.
They weren't paid during the offseason.
They weren't paid during the offseason. And so he had to work during the offseason.
He did
Nolan
HVAC.
Ryan, it's just crazy. Yeah. So I would highly recommend watching that documentary. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, if my mom hadn't taken my Nolan Ryan rookie card when I was a kid and took the picture off the backing, peeled the picture off the cardboard, and then decoupaged it onto a trash can.
Oh,
I would be getting paid on Nolan Ryan right now.
Yes, you would.
Wow.
I remember
you wouldn't be doing this.
I remember that card.
You wouldn't be doing this.
There was another Mets pitcher on there. Anybody? Chandler? Anybody? Jerry Koosman was the other pitcher on that card.
Wow.
Yeah, little known fact.
You're dating yourself there.
Well, let's move on. You are here ostensibly to talk about WoCo, but we're thrilled to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I haven't wanted to really come on because you have to wear headphones.
Yeah.
But then I've been a rebel and we're not wearing headphones today.
We're headphoneless.
We're headphoneless.
Yeah.
So.
Well, two of y'all have hair that would get messed up by the headphones.
Yeah.
So here I am just saying, I'm willing to serve. I'm willing to sacrifice.
We're so glad for that.
It's a big sacrifice.
No headphones.
Didn't mess up your hair.
Let's get into WoCo a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
Every time we do an event, I come running down the hall at the end of the event, whether it's Give a Kid a Chance or Hope for Christmas or anything big we do.
Yeah.
And I said, this is the best thing we've ever done.
Yes.
And I don't think that's an exaggeration to say that.
And now it's like, I just get ready for it. And so we were, after it was all over, you and I were in the hallway and you were like, you ready for it? You ready for it? And you said it like, this is the best thing that we've ever done. And I just love that. I think it's, I love your enthusiasm towards everything that we do. I do appreciate that about you. So
Well, it was the best thing we've ever done.
it
And
was.
It
in
was
October. On October 1st, it was the best thing that we've ever done.
Best thing we've ever done on that day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, on that day. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm following. I'm tracking
Yeah.
on that. My wife said, Leanna said, it was just from start to finish, just so authentic.
Yeah, I agree.
And we know so much went into WoCo, but there were 700 women.
Mm-hmm.
7 women had their lives changed forever, and their families changed possibly for generations,
Yeah.
having trusted in Jesus. What were your thoughts?
Man, I'm not fully recovered yet. Somebody just asked me, like, hey, have you recovered yet from WoCo? I'm like, no, it takes me a little bit of time, and it takes me time to process and to really like soak it all in, because the day of, I'm thinking of all the logistics that still have to take place and the schedule and, making sure we're kind of staying on time. And then this year I spoke at WoCo as well. And so it takes me a couple of days to really sit and to process all that took place.
Mhm.
But I will say that this year, I don't know, there was an excitement,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was just this incredible peace that I felt
Wow.
that was just all over the entire place.
Mhm.
And then especially just on my heart. I honestly can tell you that this year, and I don't know if it's just me as I'm growing in my faith with the Lord, because I'm still growing. I'm not done growing, and I think I just really fully realized that like this is His, and He's going to do
Mhm.
with it what He wants.
Mhm.
Any event that we do, this church, and we are just honored that we get to even play a small part, and that He's called us to get to serve here. And so I don't know. I just felt this overwhelming sense of
Mhm.
just peace and calmness on my heart
Yeah.
throughout the whole day, and even leading up to it. Just even leading up to it, it was just like, okay, Lord, you've got this. This
Yeah.
is all you. You've
Mhm.
got this.
And I think people sensed that, and that was
Mhm.
the authenticity. That was the realness. Not that it's always real and
For
authentic.
sure, yeah,
We do things in an authentic way.
yeah,
But I think that supernatural peace just accentuated, hey, from the time you pull into the parking
Mhm.
lot, you're just going to have a real experience here
Yeah.
where the Holy Spirit's going to move. We don't know how it's going to move.
right,
We don't know how He's going to move.
right.
So it was great.
Yeah, I agree.
Your team works for 11 months and 29 days. You take 2 days off and then back
Yeah.
at it.
I honestly can tell you that, like, one of the things I love about WoCo so much is we have an incredible amount of team members who come and serve and to make this thing happen. But more than anything, like our staff, it is a full hands-on event. Our entire staff does something for WoCo.
Mhm.
And our creative and production team, they knock it out of the park. I kind of share my vision of what I, feel like God has given me, and they just kind of take it and run with it. And then yeah, it's just our communications team, our entire WoCo leadership team. It is a lot of work, and
Mhm.
it is so worth it. It is so worth it. Like when you see all these women coming in with smiles on their faces, and they're like, we've been looking forward to this all year long. And then when you see lives being changed and marriages being restored and kids coming, prodigal children coming home, it's just it's so worth it. All the things that that we do are worth it. And this was our 9th women's conference, but we've been doing it for 10 years. We
Mhm.
did take a break in 2017. And so, I feel like one of the things that I really was challenged with this year is like I could get really on autopilot with it, because we know what we need to do. We have a list, we have a manual of
Mhm.
everything that we're going to do and how we're going to do it and the timeline and all of that type of stuff. And so it could be really easy for us to just kind of be on autopilot.
Right.
But one of the things that the Lord really challenged me on was like, pray for newness, even in this. Pray for freshness,
Mhm.
And so I just kept asking the Lord, like, even though we're kind of checking our boxes of the things that we need to do,
Yep.
just we want you to show up in a new and fresh way. And We want you to do something that we've never experienced you do before. And the crazy thing to me is like, I think, oh, there's just so many people who come to WoCo. They come every single year and they know exactly how it's going to go down. And because, once you've kind of find a formula that works, it's not like we're making like these massive changes all the time. And so, but I could get like concerned. I don't know if that's the word, but like, oh no, like how much do we need to change? And we asked a question this year of how many people is this your first time to ever come to WoCo? And the amount of people whose arms went up, I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, these are first time people, hundreds and hundreds. And so that really encouraged me, that like, yes, sure, we have this formula of how we do a conference, and we do all different types of creative aspects throughout every year. But just, there's so many new people who are coming and haven't ever even experienced it. And so that was a really sweet moment for me that God spoke to me as I was sitting there on the front row.
Really neat. So, speaking of front row, the best seat in the house for the preparation of WoCo is sitting next to you.
Yes.
So Pastor Jason, as you see your wife and our communications minister plan something like WoCo and then go out and preach a message at WoCo. Obviously, you're a husband and you're in love and you're very proud of Lindsey, but talk to us about, what do you experience in the lead up to WoCo?
Yeah, I've said this to several people, and I've said it to Lindsey before too, but every year, whether it's WoCo or really anything that has to do with something that she's really gifted at, like she may be struggling with something or wrestling with something or like worried about something. And I always tell her that like, I want to be a good husband and listen to her, you know what I mean? And be there for her. But I'm always like, Lindsey, I'm not worried about it though, because you got it. Like I'm never worried about something that you're in charge of. I'm never worried about something because I know who she is and what she does. I mean, she is the most gifted person I've ever met. And just in the array of things that she can do. Like the church we used to be on staff at, I would joke because we served together there. I said, y'all think you're going to miss me because I was preaching every week. I said, but you're really going to miss her. And we'd been gone about 6 months, and one of our friends were like, yeah, you're right. I didn't believe you at first, but yeah. I'm like, I know, because she's the one that runs everything, And so for me, I wasn't on the front row. Natalie and I sit up in the balcony, or at least we did in the first session. And that was a session that Lindsey spoke at. And I told her this afterwards, like, it was just amazing to me, not so much just Lindsey's giftedness in seeing that, which I'm always so proud of her, but seeing how her giftedness and who she is has brought all these women together. It's like, so sitting there in the balcony and in the intro with the armband thing, and they're all raising their arms for like just seeing hundreds and hundreds of arms go up. I mean, I cried many times, and I mean, it just hit me because it was like, that is a result of Lindsey's hard work and planning and our whole team. And so, I was just so proud of her for not only, again, because I know who she is and how gifted she is, but seeing that having an impact on hundreds of people is really what got me this time. There's always things that she does that I'm proud of her for. Like I said, I'll even joke about like, I'm not worried about this because you got it. But just seeing the impact and the space that she worked so hard to create for other ladies to encounter God, that was what was so emotional, was just seeing how it affected other women and hearing those stories. And I've said this before, that's one of the things that no one ever told me in seminary, how fun it was to see other people thrive in their gifts. And I think that's one thing that education in general, and particularly Christian education, doesn't really do. I feel like I was pretty prepared in order to preach and do certain things, but no one told me how fun it was to help other people prepare for that. And so one of the coolest things about WoCo to me is I don't have a lot to do with it. Like I'm not.
You didn't even have to build anything this year.
No, I didn't have to build anything. I didn't, sometimes I do that just as her husband building a set or something, which I enjoy doing. But it's just amazing to see all these amazing gifted people like Lindsey, like all of our leadership and staff and team members, and seeing them serve in their giftedness. In fact, I told somebody, I don't remember if it was a pastor friend or what. It's like, I don't mind building a stage, and I'm talking metaphorically. Like, I don't mind building a stage or a platform, but I want to build it so other people can stand on it.
That's good.
I'm not trying to build a platform for myself, for me as a person or as a pastor. And WoCo is just one of those events that I think highlights that probably more than anything else that we do. Not just because it's put on by women for women, but you just see all these people get to use their gifts. Lindsey's one, all of our worship leaders. I mean, gosh, I was telling Jillian, like she was going after it and singing. Yes. And Tim and I were joking because Tim is one of the most, exciting worship leaders that we have, like jumping around. And I'm always telling him, do more of that. But I was joking with him. I'm like, dude, she was giving you a run for your money. Like she's up there, like she's awesome. Going after it, you know? And I told her the same thing. And so again, as a husband, it's amazing to see Lindsey operate in her giftedness like that. But then as a pastor, to see so many people operate in their gifting. To me, I mean, again, when you think about it, it gets me emotional. That's one of the most amazing things about that weekend.
I was thinking Saturday night and was texting some folks on the staff that we were all tired, but we were not exhausted. It was such a good tired.
You weren't drained.
Yeah, it was such a good tired. And there are things that you do in ministry where you're drained. And we've all gone to conferences where we leave drained.
Yeah.
But this felt so good to be tired from that.
Yeah.
It was really tough to wipe the smile off everybody's face at the end of the day. But you did preach.
I did.
And what was really cool about that, if you didn't get a chance to see it, this was from some verses that God put on your heart a long time ago.
In January.
Yeah. So can you share that story?
Yeah. So I was reading in Job and at the beginning of the year, and I remember telling Jason, like, I'm so over reading about Job. Like his friends are awful. He's got the worst friends and all of this stuff is happening to him. But I just kept trucking along. And I don't know if you like fully remember this, but we were sitting on the couch one morning and I was reading out of Job 23 and I got to a set of scriptures, or I got to verse 8 and started reading it. And a lot of times, like if he's near me while I'm reading my Bible and it's like something like really pops out at me, I want to tell him, but normally I can't tell him without what?
Crying.
It's like, oh my gosh, this is what just happened. This is
She'll
what I just read. I'll
start a sentence and get like 2 words in, and then it shuts down. Yeah.
What did I do before we started recording?
Yeah.
I brought in a box of tissues.
Yes, you did. I have them right here. I have some right there. But so Job 23, 8 through 14 is now probably one of my most favorite sets of scripture. Can I read it really fast?
You can.
Okay.
I don't know.
You can read it.
May I?
You may. You can read it really slow if you want.
Okay, great.
We have all the time.
You can read it really slow.
We have all the time in the world.
It'll be transcribed on YouTube, so it's fine. Yeah.
Good callback.
So Job 23, 8 through 14 says, Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I do not perceive him. On the left hand, when he is working, and that verse 9 part just gets me when he is working, because it just is proving
not
point
if. Yeah.
that he is working. But still, Job's like, I don't behold him, and he turns to the right hand, but I do not see him. And verse 10 says, But he knows the way that I take. When he has tried me, I shall come out as gold. My foot has held fast to his steps. I have kept his way and have not turned aside. I have not departed from the commandment of his lips. It's so easy whenever we're going through trials to depart from the commandments of God's lips. Yep. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my portion of food. But he is unchangeable, and who can turn him back? What he desires, that he does. For he will complete what he appoints for me, and many such things are in his mind. I just love that, like, we see here that Job is yielding to God. He's searching for God. He's laying everything before God. He's like, God, I can't find you. I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're doing, but I know you're working. And my foot is going to stay, I'm going to stay in step with you. And I just think that that's just been a really good challenge to me, and a really, I don't know, just a really sweet word that that God has given me over the last several months. And I'm just super grateful for Job 23, or Job used to be a set of, or a book that I would kind of not really enjoy reading or not be excited about it. But now I see the evidence of God in a way that is just so precious and wonderful, and that the Lord, protected Job. The Lord allowed all of this stuff to happen to him, but God refined him, and God brought him out as gold, and then he blessed him in ways that were just so incredible. And Jason and I talked a little bit about this, and I didn't even talk about it in my message, but the crazy thing to me too is that, even, Job's wife even like challenges Job of like, hey, curse God and die. Like, look at what God's done to you. And Job is like, no, you crazy woman. Like, I'm going to keep following after the Lord. And then because of Job's obedience, because Job was obedient and he continued to stay in step with the Lord, when God blessed Job at the end of Job, well, his wife was also blessed. And so like our obedience of walking in step with the Lord and not turning away, even when we can't feel that he is working, it is a ripple effect, and it affects other people in our family and, just in our churches, if we will just remain faithful. And so God has been so faithful to us. And I think so oftentimes we can forget that. And so that's what I really wanted us to focus in on at WoCo, was that the Lord has been so faithful to us in the midst of horrible circumstances, crazy trials, turmoil, sadness, grief. The Lord has been faithful. And what was crazy to me is I just threw that out to all three of the speakers, like your whole message doesn't have to be about faithfulness, but I want you to talk about God's faithfulness. And then the way that all of their messages kind of intertwined all together was just honestly a total God thing.
Yeah, it was. I asked. I mean, I knew, obviously planning and thinking and talking about WoCo, but I asked her like, hey, how much did you tell the speakers? And that's what she just says. Like, I just told them I want you to talk on faithfulness. But it was just, it's always amazing to me. But this year, I don't know, maybe I was just paying attention more. It just felt like they all built on each other, and how they all worked together. And, there's this good mix of like you said at the beginning, of honesty, whether it was Lindsey being honest about struggles in her, say her life, our life.
And cellulite.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was huge.
Well, I was going to ask, is it okay if I talk about Job now? Because you said, like, I got to stay out of Job. And you got to, that was funny for if you didn't watch it. But because I said something about Job earlier this year, and Lindsey cracked on stage, like, telling me to stay out of Job. She doesn't preach John,
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but that's the. I always know when because she doesn't speak every year, and it is tough to plan everything and speak. But I know when she feels like she's supposed to, she's supposed to.
Yeah.
Like I knew that I knew that I knew that I knew.
Yeah.
And so when I told our team, like, hey, this is what I feel like God's laying on my heart, so that means y'all are gonna have to stand in the gap for me on some of these things that I normally do. They were all like, yes, which was such a huge.
Yeah. You were Shohei Ohtani for the Angels. He hits and he pitches.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's a really awesome baseball player.
Yeah,
right now.
I feel very.
Yeah.
You should. That's a great compliment. It's not
great.
Nolan, but
not Nolan, but I'll take it.
But I always enjoy when she preaches, because I do think people get to see a side of her that they don't always get to see, that I get to see, like that, like her humor, her funniness, cracking jokes. I mean, she is very quick-witted on that. even stuff like that I had no, I mean, we talked about her message prior to, and I'm giving her feedback on it and stuff, but there was things that she said like that it just dropped me too. That was so funny. But yeah, there was an authenticity to it all. And
I think that's honestly, like, that's the biggest thing to me. It's like, if you're going to get 750, 800 women in a room, let's not be fake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's not put the Instagram filter over it. Let's be who we are, because we all came in.
Let's not worry about what we're wearing.
Yeah, like, hush. I did. Oh, that's not funny.
I was gonna say, at the beginning when you were like, it takes a month to process stuff, and I was gonna say, and a month to return stuff.
Oh, preach.
I know. I'm so sorry.
Our offices are closed on Fridays.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people say, hey, what do you do on your day off? I take stuff back.
yeah, return stuff.
That's what I do.
We had a staff member at one point in time years ago. She said, you can guarantee that at any given moment, Lindsey's going to have $2,000 worth of stuff that needs to be returned to Target.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the truth.
Oh, yeah.
Target, Amazon, Kohl's, all the places.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I can't help it. But it's
I-
all going to go back. It's
yeah.
all going to go back. It all is already shipped or, boxed and ready to
Well,
go
that's
back.
my favorite thing. I'll see on which I talked about this in a sermon a while
Yes.
back, where you said that you are the fraud. But I'll ask her, hey, did you buy this on Amazon? And her first response is, oh, most of it's going back.
Yep.
And my thought is, well, then why did you buy it? Like,
Because you have to buy like multiple sizes. You don't know what it's going to fit like.
oh, I understand.
And so,
I
Yeah.
live with you. I've gotten the speech.
yeah, you've gotten the speech.
Yeah.
But what were we talking about before that?
Authenticity.
Authenticity. 700
yeah.
women in the room.
Yeah,
We
like-
just want to sit around.
Yes, we just want to be honest with each other. And I think that we're not. Like, sometimes we're just not honest. And so that was my heart of like, I shared some struggles and some health issues and some things that we've gone through in our family that I really honestly haven't shared with a ton of people. And I mean, I asked you like, hey, is it okay if I share all this? And I thought, yeah, let's just go there, And I was telling some of our pastors earlier today, but like in my notes, it says for me to like say something along the lines of, during my talk, like I just wanted us to I wanted them to feel like we were sitting around having coffee together and just talking about Jesus. And I forgot to say that in my message and didn't really even think about it until the end. I was like, oh, I didn't say that. Oh, okay, no big deal. Well, then somebody at lunch came up to me and just said, hey, I really appreciate your message. And it spoke to me. And it just felt like we were sitting around the table having coffee together, talking about Jesus. And I was like, oh, that's,
That was in your notes. And you
that was in
didn't
my
say
notes,
it. Yeah.
and then I didn't say it. But then 3 more people came and said that to me. And so I was like, thank you, Lord. Like that was the desire of my heart,
Yeah.
that it would be just a bunch of girls sitting around the table talking about Jesus and talking about the faithfulness of who he is. Because I think so oftentimes when we're struggling and when things aren't going well, we, not only do we like forget that he is faithful, but it's like we don't even put the focus on that, you
Yeah.
know? And so I just,
It's elsewhere.
yeah, it's just elsewhere. And so I think it's just so good for us to be reminded that, or we even feel guilty. Like we should be like, oh, God's faithful. He is going to work it all out. And then we don't even acknowledge the fact that like, I'm really struggling right now.
Yeah.
And I just have learned as I walk with the Lord that I can take literally every struggle, disappointment, sadness, anytime I'm mad, and I can literally lay it at the feet of Jesus, and he doesn't judge me. He doesn't say like, this is too big for me. He reminds me who I am in him, and he reminds me that he's going to work it out according to his plan and not mine. I can't tell you how many times I've gone, Lord, this is not the way that I wanted this to work out. And he's like, I know, but my way is so much better. And it is. His way is just better.
Yeah, and that's why I was brought up about joking about returning stuff, because there's an authenticity in that too.
Yeah.
Like saying that, even you leading the conference,
I had nothing to wear.
yeah, you had nothing to wear. You want to make sure.
And then I ended up wearing something I already had.
Yeah, that was the part. Let's not get into that.
Let's not get into
yeah,
it. We won't.
Yeah. But it's kind of like marriage counseling.
I'm just watching this happening here.
This is what was happening on Friday night, pre-conference, like going through all this stuff. And she wanted to wear a pink blazer, which was funny because then Brittany showed up in one. I'm like, oh, there's your pink
my blazer. I'm like,
blazer.
where did you get it? Because everywhere I was trying to get it from, that's not where it was from.
But there was actually, speaking of Brittany, who is Tim, one of our worship leaders' sister.
Yeah, Tim Brummel's sister.
Yeah, Tim Brummel's sister.
Brittany Brooker.
And there was an authenticity to what you shared, what she's gone through, what Whitney's going through. But one of the things that Brittany said that kind of relates to this that I was just thinking about, she was talking about social media and how we all post on social media because we want to be seen.
Yeah.
But then when we're going through things in life that we can't post about because it's so negative, then it makes us feel unseen. And so just kind of thinking about what you were just saying, and that's one of the things I appreciate about you and our team here in WoCo is like, it's not that it's wrong to buy a cute dress to come to WoCo. That's not the point. But I think your heart comes across to people's like, yeah, you can dress cute for WoCo. That's fine. But we want you to come and be seen.
Yeah.
We want you just to come and be seen and known and understand we're all struggling, sometimes more, sometimes less, and so I do appreciate that. Even though I give you a hard time about, hey, no one cares what you're wearing.
And honestly, I didn't really care either. You just want to feel comfortable in whatever you have on or whatever. But no, I want women to feel like they could come to WoCo and it's like a breath of fresh air. They don't even have to worry about like, is somebody going to judge me that I don't have this on? I'm not, like it's not about that. It's about coming and meeting with Jesus. And so,
and having fun
and like being honest and you want to say something else? I'll repeat you.
No.
And so
we were just feeding off each other.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. I'll shut up.
No, don't shut up. You're great. So I
don't shut up. You're great. Do you feel uplifted?
Can that be the title of this podcast? Don't shut up.
No, that's gonna be my shirt now. Like that's what people need to tell Pastor Jason. Don't shut up. You're great. Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
We don't want to let that get to your head.
I'm joking. Yeah.
But no, we do want to create a space where people can feel cared for and loved, and they can bring all of it. And honestly, though, like that's just the heartbeat of our church.
Yeah.
That's who we are as a church. WoCo is just an extension of what we do every single week here at Revolution Church. And so. Sure, at Women's Conference, we are more tailored towards women, but our whole entire desire of our church is that we want you to come and we want you to feel loved and cared for and challenged. We want to challenge you and we want to help you grow in your faith. And, I'm super proud of our church. I think I say this often, like even if I wasn't married to him, I'd still want to come here. I just love this church so much. It's so incredible.
There's a spiritual, and I'll use the word again, authenticity.
Yes.
Yeah.
About what's going on here. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to put in the comment section, maybe a takeaway from WoCo or a word. The word that I had, it was literally in the first session that, and I don't think this was planned, but the band stayed on I guess it's the bridge of our original song, Harvest, which I think is just an incredible song. And the line is, only your word brings breakthrough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Out of the depths, I hear your call. Only your word brings breakthrough. And then I felt in the room, I sensed in the room that during your message, women were getting broken free. That's probably not even the right tense. There was
breakthrough happening.
There was breakthrough happening in the room. And it continued throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, agreed.
And again, not planned. You do set something. Okay, we do know we're going to do this song probably here, but you're not planning on having that breakthrough. You're not planning on having that Holy Spirit moment in that time.
Yeah.
But it happened all through the day. So if you want to post in the comments section something that maybe you had a breakthrough about, we would love.
We'd love to know.
Love to read that. Did you have a moment?
Yeah, several. Like I said, I've joked about, I don't know if I've said this on stage, but kind of keeping with the women vibe here. I take testosterone shots, and because of that, like that's one of 12 hormones or whatever you have. Your other hormones go up as well. So my estrogen is higher. And so I told Lindsey a couple months ago, I'm like, I'm crying all the time now. Like we talked about this because I have more estrogen now. And we were sitting around in the office, and I'm like, yeah, I'm crying more. Like at commercials, I'm crying. And then you were like, yeah, and spontaneous trips to Target. And, we were joking about since I have more.
I think you cry now more than I do.
I do. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I'm giving a context for it. There were several moments throughout the day. And again, I knew Lindsey's message going into it because we had talked about it. And, I helped, I didn't say I helped, but like, when she was talking to me about it, I was thinking about it. And so I knew some of the things she was going to say. And one of her points, I think the best one came out of that quote from Spurgeon about how the gold isn't injured, in the furnace. Like you don't think about that. And she made that point that God's not trying to injure you, but he's trying to injure what's inside of you.
Yeah.
Like the gold is not injured in that whole process, even though the heat gets turned up so hot, but it's taking out everything that's not gold, in there.
And that's what we want.
That's
truly.
what we
like
want.
that's what we
Yeah.
really do want, is we want to be refined, to
Yeah.
look more like him. But it is a painful process. But he's like, not to interrupt you, but yeah, he's not
No, it was your
out to
message.
injure us.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and we've said this in different ways, like sometimes in the middle of it, you don't know that. You don't
No.
know that he's not out to injure you.
It feels like it.
It feels like it. It
Yeah.
feels like you're the one that's burning.
Mhm.
Like, but really he
the pruning,
is.
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
in the
because it
pruning.
is painful.
It is painful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it is like God's out to injure what's injuring us.
Right.
And anytime you do that, it is painful. Like, the analogy of cancer or whatever whatever's inside of us that's killing us. The bad thing is our body has attached to that.
Mhm.
Our body has become accustomed to that habit or whatever. And even Beth talked about this. Like
Yeah.
when Beth, like the picture of the tree that she put up there and talking about her own daughter and her struggles, and planting, roots in. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so, I'm like, I didn't know that she was going to preach that, but that's our whole mission statement,
Yeah.
the tree and everything. And like, and so we become so attached to those things that, God does have to rip them out, and it's painful because our body, that's normal to us, but that's abnormal to the ways of God. There were several moments like that throughout the day where, again, I was crying because I was proud of Lindsey. I was crying because, I saw all these women worshiping. I was crying thinking about my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But then also in my own life, just different things that people said that were, and I don't get to do that very often.
Where
I
you
don't
just get to sit.
Yeah, especially in our own church.
Yeah.
Like the worship weekend as well was incredible.
Yeah.
And you made a point to say this at the 9:30. I wasn't in there at this time at the 11:15, so you may have said it, but how important it is for, like, and I don't know if you plan to say that, but you said, Pastor Jason's here, he's sitting right there, but it's important for him to experience worship, and take communion. And so it was a great weekend all around for that, for me personally, to sit there, to experience worship together with our church, singing, scripture, taking communion, everything about it is just an incredible, incredible weekend. And again, that doesn't happen that often for me personally.
Yeah.
There were so many moments like that, like I said, I cried about, and I don't mind saying it.
Yeah, and I thought it was great for the church to see that you need to be filled up.
Yeah.
Because you can't pour out every single week.
Yeah.
If you're empty.
Mm-hmm.
If you're wondering, speaking of Beth Guckenberger or Gupenberger, I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
Heard it both ways.
What poem she shared at the end of her message
Yes.
that everybody was coming up saying, hey, can I get a copy of that? Can I get a copy of that? Can I get a copy of that? It's called The Fellowship of the Unashamed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fellowship of the Unashamed. You can Google it. It's been blogged about many times, different versions of it, but that's pretty close to the the poem that she shared. Well, what a great day it was.
Yeah.
Followed up by that worship weekend. And now we're going to get into John 16. Just finished John 15 a couple of weeks ago. John 16 starts out with, again, another warning to the disciples.
Yeah. And don't you be talking about it this week. That's
Don't
mine.
worry. I'm not going to talk about it, John. Hey, but before, I don't know if we're about to end, but before we.
Yes, we are.
Okay, before we close out, I do want to say this, and neither one of you know that I'm going to say this, but October is Pastor Appreciation Month.
Oh.
And so we've got some really incredible pastors on staff at Revolution Church. There's no way that we could do what we do without the leadership of our pastors. And so I just want to encourage you, if you're listening to this podcast right now, to text, reach out to our pastors, send them a gift card, send them something, write them a letter, because, I get a front row seat to see everything and how you lead and everything that you have to carry. And, a gift card doesn't really suffice, but hey, it'll be nice.
Yeah.
Hey, I rhymed.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just want to say, church family, it is Pastor Appreciation Month, and we want to love on our pastors well and encourage them. And because we want y'all to keep running this race, because when you're running this race well, it sets our whole entire church up to continue to run the race well. And that's one of the things I'm super appreciative of you, is that, we say this all the time, we're in this for the long haul. And so we're not just sprinting through this thing, we're running a marathon. And so we want to stay recharged and healthy. And there's some seasons we do a great job at that. There's some seasons where we don't. But in the our long-term goal is to run this race well. And so love on our pastors, because they need it and deserve it. And they are incredible men of God. I see them off the stage. I'm in meetings with them. I see the way that they lead their families, and they are legit. They are the real thing. So anyways, I love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna cry.
Nothing I would rather do for the rest of my life.
Yes, agree.
And I have the benefit of having great pastors. So thank you, Pastor Jason and Pastor Chad, for leading me so well.
Yes. Got some good people.
Yep.
We do.
And of course, there's Pastor Thad.
Yeah.
Pastor Thad.
Yeah.
We love Pastor Thad.
What a great...
You get a pastor. You get a pastor. You get cellulite. You get cellulite. Yeah.
That was so fun.
That was not in my notes.
Yeah.
And so it just came to me, and it just made me laugh so hard.
There were some moments you didn't even know about. In the lobby, there was fruit and snacks, and at one point there weren't any bananas left. And I was like, "Do I have to go out and get potassium pills? Is there a potassium shortage going on here? Because I think there's bananas somewhere in the building."
Who knows?
We found
Okay,
some.
good. You found them. You found them. Great.
Yep. Okay, so that's the Grow People podcast for today. If you want a transcript of today's podcast,
Do not email me.
no, and you don't have to write anything down anymore.
Yeah.
It's right there on the YouTube.
That's
so
right.
if
I
you're
need to go verify this before we can say it. Not that I don't trust you.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
It's there.
I trust David
Yeah.
with this.
And if it's closed caption, that's just
Whatever.
It's
still there. It's still there. You can still read
All right. John chapter 16 starts this Thursday night in Canton. Yes. If you did not know that there is a Thursday night gathering in Canton, and for you Thursday night people, I'm going to be all over you on Thursday night. Please sit closer than row 23.
That's right. Yeah.
Get
move
up
on
to the
up.
front. Let's
Yes.
go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bring the heat.
Yeah.
Bring the heat.
All right.
Like Nolan Ryan.
Yes.
Woo!
Oh,
brought it around.
And there we go.
Full circle.
Full
circle.
The Express. Lindsey, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Pastor Jason, thank you. Our statistician today has been Chandler Elder. Our producer is Chandler Elder. Our still photographer was Mason Baumgartner
Yes.
today. And everything else that has happened today is under the auspices of our producer, Chandler Elder.
Under the production of Revolution Church Films.
Yes. And he under the express written consent of Major League Baseball also today.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. We're just going to keep on going.
Okay. And bye-bye.
And done.